Good afternoon. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. If it's not Friday, watch this video again on Friday. Today, we're working on my 87 Toyota 4Runner. In my hand, I have a new power steering hose, pressure line, and a new power steering pump. This is actually not new. This is off of a Toyota pickup with 142,000 miles. If the power steering pump in my truck is original, it's got 333,000 miles on it. And it's been making a noise, so that's why I'm replacing this. As for the line, my line is actually not leaking at all. But recently, I was watching a video of a couple Toyota pickups wheeling, and I guess they were hard on the steering, and one of the guys actually had his power steering line burst. And if you're familiar with where these are placed on the vehicle, it's right next to the exhaust. And in his case, it started a fire. And so that got me thinking. I started looking at mine, and I realized mine is severely dry rotted. And I don't want that to happen, because I don't want my truck to catch on fire. That's generally not a good thing. So today, we're going to be replacing this line and the power steering pump. So inside my 87 owner's manual for my 4-wheel drive truck and 4Runner, by Toyota of course, this will tell me that the fluid I want to use is Dexron or Dexron 2 automatic transmission fluid. And that is why I have some Dexron Mercon ATF, which is compatible with Dexron 1 and 2 type fluids. So the pressure line attaches down there at the power steering pump. That's the one with the flare nut on it, not the hose clamp. And it's actually a little bit difficult to get to when we got all this stuff in here, the intake and that washer, or the overflow bottle for the radiator. So we're going to remove those. Radiator overflow is pretty simple to remove. It's just a single 10mm bolt. Now I'll just set this aside. Holding the air box in, there are 3 12mm bolts. Must have dropped this at some point in the past. And then we just need to unplug the airflow meter itself. And then the 10mm, we'll undo the boot from the throttle body. Just like that. Now we have quite a bit of room to work down here, so that'll be nice. Next I'm going to loosen this bolt, or the nut that holds the power steering pulley onto the power steering pump. Just give it a few firm yanks. Might rotate the motor a little bit, but I had it in gear, so as long as the belt doesn't slip, it should be in business. Now I gotta remove this 14mm nut that holds the tensioner in place. I can take tension off the tensioner. At this point we can just slide the belt off of the power steering pulley. I'm going to pull this pulley off just so that it's not getting in my way. There we go. Yeah, this pump doesn't really feel too good, so hopefully this replacement that we're doing actually solves our problem. Okay, now before I start loosening this pump off, I'm going to try to loosen the flare nuts on this pressure line on either end. So I got myself a line wrench. I've talked to you about these before. It's a good thing to have these. This is actually kind of a cheap set, so I'm going to see how they work. We're just going to see if we can break these lines loose without burning our arms on the radiator. Yeah, perfect. And then this bottom one might be a little bit more difficult just because of its placement. Rip that cover back there a little bit. I think that it might. There's enough room to get a pry bar in there. Perfect. Now I probably wouldn't have done that if I was going to save this line, if I was just disassembling it, because I had to kind of bend it there. But since we're replacing this line, it's not a problem. Once it's broken loose, you can use a regular end wrench just to loosen it up some more. But we're not taking this all the way out yet. Although if you weren't replacing your power steering pump, you definitely could. Way down yonder ways we got this little hose clamp here with a 12mm bolt. And that just holds this power steering line to the gearbox. Now this hose clamp is loose. We're going to need that when we install the new line. Also notice I put a piece of cardboard underneath the truck because it's probably going to drip a whole bunch of power steering fluid once we start doing this job. Now that we got everything broken loose around the lines and everything, we're going to start loosening up the pump where it actually mounts to the motor. And I believe that there's 4 14s, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. So I got all the bolts that hold the power steering pump out, and now we just got to remove those 2 vacuum lines. Those actually, the reason that you have vacuum lines going to your power steering pump, they kick the idle up a hair when the power steering pump is under load. That way your car doesn't stall if you're idling and turning the steering wheel back and forth. Needle nose pliers are probably the perfect tool for this job. I believe at this point the power steering pump can slide straight out towards the driver's side of the vehicle, and it did. Cool. So we just got it rest in there on top of the alternator. At this point we need to remove the hose that feeds from the power steering reservoir into the top of the power steering pump. That's just a hose clamp with a 10mm bolt on it. Keep in mind that when you do that, power steering fluid is going to come out, so I'm going to actually, I think what I'm going to do is syringe all that crap out of the power steering reservoir. That way we've got less draining out onto my cardboard and onto the rest of the engine bay. If you guys watch me a lot, you'll know I use these syringes all the time. Oh yeah, that's some not so nice looking fluid right there. But they are useful to have. Sounds like we're just about dry in there. Ooh, yummy. What I actually think I want to do is I want to remove the hose at the top end, because if I disconnect down here, all the fluid that's in this hose is going to drain out and make a mess. So I'm going to disconnect it up here, and then I'll just drain it into that bucket. And then once I have this whole assembly out of here, I'll just drain the fluid out of it into my bucket. Hose clamp pinch bolt came out. But whatever. Gets the job done. So, hose clamp down. Get some slip joint pliers and just twist the hose on the nipple there a little bit. Break it free, and then hopefully we can just slide this down. I am going to get a rag before I disconnect this totally, because I think it's going to leak some. Yep, it's definitely leaking some. Making quite a mess. Yeah. Need more rags. So now the only thing holding that power steering pump in is the pressure line into the gearbox. So I guess we'll disconnect that next, and I expect that a lot of fluid will come out. So we're just loosening this flare nut on the end here where it goes into the gearbox. And once this is loose, we should be able to lift everything out of here. Not all of working on cars is exciting. This part is pretty tedious, where you're loosening a bolt a long way, a 1/6 of a turn at a time, or sometimes a 1/12 of a turn at a time, or sometimes 1 click of your ratchet at a time. But hey, it's the finished product we're after. And in this case, the finished product is getting that bolt loose. Alrighty. So I was correct, we're losing some fluid. So I got my drip tray under there. All that fluid is pretty dirty, so I'm not really terribly worried about losing it. I'm going to put new stuff in anyway, so let's just get this whole unit out of here. It's alive. So out of this mess that we got here, the only things we need to transfer are this little clamp and this hose right here. Everything else is toast. And while it's off the vehicle, there's why we're actually doing this job. You see how cracked that hose is? I would not want that to burst. It's even pointed right at where the exhaust is on the truck. So I got this hose off, cleaned it up. Now I'm just going to transfer it over to the new pump. Next, I can install the pressure line, which I will check to make sure it looks the same as the old one. And it does, so let's put it on. I'm just going to loosely thread this on here for now, because I don't know what position I need this to be in, because this one is turned. So I'm just going to do this for now. Now before I bolt anything up here, I'm going to take a few minutes and just clean this up, because I got power steering fluid or whatever all over the place, and I just don't like that. So I'm going to get some degreaser and clean this all up. See you in a few. So we're just going to feed this back to where it was before. Pressure hose into the power steering gearbox, and then slide the power steering pump itself roughly into position. Now I need to put this hose clamp on. The factory hose clamp is actually spot welded on right where that hole, the little hole is drilled, so you can't slide it off. So I had to drill out that spot weld, that way I can reuse this clamp. I didn't have any other clamps that were quite the same size. I'm going to install the bolt that holds that little clamp. Get that where it belongs. It would appear the aftermarket one is a 16, whereas the Toyota one is a 17. But no big deal. Except of course I don't have a 16mm flare wrench. So I'm going to do what I always tell you not to do, which is use an open end wrench on a flare nut. And then I'll just tighten down this little clamp. Now I'm going to start working on bolting the power steering pump into position. And start putting them in. Of course, get everything started before you tighten anything down. Sometimes you tighten something down and it'll pull the other things out of position, and you'll never get them lined up. And slide this onto my reservoir while not forgetting the hose clamp that came apart. Okay, now we get to put the rest of this thing back together. So I'm going to put this wood key in here. Hopefully you didn't lose it. Next goes on this pulley. Should slide right on, no problem at all. And then there's flat washer, lock washer, and a nut. Belt can go on next, and then tension it up. That looks pretty good, and it'll tighten itself up even more once we tighten this lock nut down. Next to go on is this long, thick black tube. Tighten up these 12 mils here. Once it's bolted to the body, tighten down this. And of course, plug it in so it actually serves some purpose. Radiator overflow. Wraps in like such. Tighten that down and we'll plug it in. Now I just need to tighten down the flare nut that holds this on. I haven't done it yet because I wasn't sure about the position and where it needed to be, but I think it'll be fine right there. And tighten her on down. Now we need to bleed the system. It's not like brakes or other hydraulic systems like that, but you need to make sure you do it. So what I'm going to do, pour this in here. Then we'll just start it, turn the steering wheel back and forth a couple times. Alright, so there we are, all done. Don't forget to hook these vacuum lines back up. I had a small vacuum leak. I was wondering why I was idling so rough. So yeah, hook those back up and you'll be good. Double check to make sure you don't have any leaks, especially around those pressure fittings. And I seem to be good. Now I just need to clean up this whole mess that I made. A couple things to remember. I would start the truck up and then fill this, and fill it slowly. I ended up putting in too much and then it started overflowing and making a mess. So if you can avoid that, do. Hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, you can always leave a comment or send me a message. If you have any requests, obviously, just send me a message or post a comment. I have sort of been working with this new YouTube format, and I have a donation button, so if you feel like donating, donate as much as you want or as little as you want. There's no obligation. My videos are always free. Any money that you do donate goes straight towards making videos and working on the YouTube channel. I am the Alex Man. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's helped you out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
I don't know why.
Chase!
Say
hi.
But it's not.
What's up? Hey, man.
All they want to do in there is have sex.
No. I got a GoPro.
Huh?
You're not in there, so you don't count.
Twice you got shot down in the same room.
I don't have any more of those.
Okay, now's the best time to ask her, Chase.
I mean, if you got the mount, you can borrow the camera.
You want to have sex?
That'd be awesome.
What?
You guys are want to have sex.
Oh, really? Really?
Time to go. No. Mood changer.
Just kill the buzz. Time to call Angela. Yeah.
That just no, it didn't work. No.
Probably just. Yeah.
See? Look. I haven't tried it though. It has more alcohol in it.
Yeah, nice.
It's platinum.
See, that's...
I beat you. Let me have a swig. No.
Chase, do something funny.
Talking German
No,
again.
it wasn't. No,
It wasn't me.
I like the blue.
So he starts talking German to no one understands. No. That's $12 for $11. This was $18 for $13.
Definitely not. More alcohol is not going to be cheaper. No.
That's why I went for this.